Boruto is on the wrong path, or more precisely, the path Boruto has chosen is exactly the same as his father's. Yeah, I'm Nim without the E. At least, these are some of Naruto's mistakes that Boruto is currently following. Yeah, speaking of Naruto and Boruto, I think you already understand the ninja paths between the two of them, right? Even though they truly have the same goal or mission, which is to save the world from such a huge threat, believe it or not, I think we all agree that Boruto's mission or goal to achieve that has such an extreme and difficult path. But do Boruto and Naruto actually carry the same burden? That's where the debate might come in. And we know that Naruto grew up alone since childhood. Yeah, even though he still had a sensei and friends, the fact remains that he was essentially alone and lonely. Since childhood, Naruto has always been rejected, shunned, and forced to carry a burden that wasn't even his own, Kurama. As a result, he developed the mindset that suffering is something one must endure alone without burdening others. Besides being a naive and idealistic ninja, this is one of the mistakes he inherited. He wanted to bear the burden alone, and that was at least the advice Itachi gave Naruto before his mind was truly open to the fact that he couldn't do that. That friends and others were one way to achieve his goals rather than having to bear it alone. And you must also remember that during the Fourth Shinobi World War, Naruto even said that he would not let anyone else die. And indirectly, Naruto not only wanted to save the world, but to save everything by himself. But the problem, as I just mentioned, unconsciously, this made Naruto's instincts too idealistic and stubborn. He often forgets the fact that his true strength comes from cooperation and the support of others. And in fact, there are many other examples, especially when he became Hokage. Naruto keeps trying to balance his roles as a leader and a father, but he still chooses to bear everything alone and ends up in a mess. He never truly tells his family about the threats he faces or the pressure he endures. The result, Boruto grows up feeling that his father is distant and doesn't give him any attention. And that's what makes Boruto hate him when he's young. So, from a moral and psychological perspective, Naruto's fatal mistake wasn't in his strategic decisions, but in his way of thinking. Naruto never realized that bearing everything alone wasn't a sign of strength, but a form of subtle arrogance. However, if we talk about Boruto himself, whose destiny was switched from the beginning, causing him to be shunned by some of his friends, and of course, not many people asked him to be the hero of the chaos that would ensue, then why did he think that all the problems caused by the God Tree had to be solved by him alone, risking his life? Yeah, for this case, the answer has been revealed after a few chapters in the time skip. The first reason is Koji, and the second is Momoshiki. Believe it or not, only these two characters could make Boruto think he has to bear everything alone. Koji must have told Boruto that only he can change the worst future of planet Earth. If he dies, then planet Earth will be destroyed. And Koji must have explained that the one bringing about the destruction is Jura, Code, or several other Otsutsuki, especially Momoshiki himself, who is inside his body. So Boruto must have thought that if he managed to eliminate all these threats, then there would be no more major threats to the planet Earth. Because, after all, Momoshiki himself would not be able to destroy the planet Earth if there were no Shinju tree growing on it, right? However, in Momoshiki's case, it certainly won't be that simple. With Momoshiki inside his body, Boruto also thinks that the world is not running smoothly because of Momoshiki's presence in his body. So, with the prophecies mentioned by Koji about the Earth and himself, which cannot be ignored, and with Boruto also becoming a threat to the world because of Momoshiki inside his body, for Boruto right now, all the problems happening on Earth are his responsibility. And one important thing to handle all this is to become strong. But will everything end easily with Boruto becoming as strong as he is now? Of course not. But when it comes to the strength that makes main characters like Naruto or Boruto confident enough to bear the burden alone, that mindset is at least mistaken. Once again, as a basic example, Itachi is the best advisor. In short, Itachi once told Naruto about how the villagers who used to hate him eventually came to appreciate and acknowledge him as a hero. Gaining that recognition as a friend and fellow villager was the result of Naruto's own hard work to be accepted by them. The truth is, Naruto was able to become such a great ninja because of all the people who supported him. But if he ever forgets all of that just because he has power, he'll end up becoming like Madara. And one thing is certain, Itachi reminded Naruto that no matter how strong he is, he shouldn't try to bear everything alone. because basically nothing in this world can run on its own. And yeah, that's at least one piece of advice we still remember to this day. But at this point, have you ever thought about who will save Boruto from his naivety and idealism in following his father's ninja path to shoulder all this burden alone? Because if Naruto had Itachi to save him, then what about Boruto? But it seems silly to say that Itachi should be brought back through Edo Tensei and do the same job he did in Naruto. Shikamaru? Definitely not. Mitsuki? I'm not sure about that. But in my opinion, there are only two characters who make sense to save Boruto from his naivety and idealism in shouldering all the burdens alone, Sarada and Sumire. But if I had to choose one based on her ninja path, for some reason Sarada is the most suitable to replace Itachi's position as an advisor who guides Boruto away from the path he shouldn't choose. Not only is Itachi Sarada's uncle, but Sarada also has big ambitions and goals to become Hokage. In other words, as Hokage, she must understand that she cannot achieve this alone, and one of the things she must do is save Boruto from his idealism first. Moreover, Sarada is a character who always wants to help Boruto with things that make him struggle. And the reason I didn't choose Sumire is not because Sumire is bad or what you might think. I chose Sarada because she has been Boruto's friend since childhood, especially since their fathers were true friends and rivals. In other words, Sarada understands and comprehends more than Sumire herself. Sumire seems more reluctant to put herself in danger by forcing herself to help Boruto, which could end up being a burden for Boruto himself. But in the end, we can't really be sure who will save and help Boruto from the huge burden that isn't his responsibility. But because of his ninja path, he has to do it. Besides, even though in the end we can't be sure who will save him, at least some examples from several characters suggest that Sarada is the one. But what do you guys think? And conclusion, some of Naruto's mistakes that Boruto follows are his idealism and naivety. He is idealistic about something that could be easier if his friends helped him. But the interesting point is that if the number of people on Boruto's side increases, Koji actually becomes one of the characters who supports saving Boruto. I mean, he secretly created a scenario to awaken his friend's powers, and Koji clearly saw that possibility. So, in other words, the more friends Boruto has on his side, the more Koji supports those who are starting to side with Boruto to awaken their powers. Yeah, that's how it is. But what do you guys think? Whatever your theories and analyses are, let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, like and subscribe. I'm Nim without the E. See you in the next video. Bye-bye. Data bio.